Some of these settings are pretty straight ahead, so I'm going to go through a couple here in one series. So the security settings are pretty straight ahead. There are a few things you can set up in here just as far as your general password policies and the level of security of the apps that you'll allow to be used or added here. Password management just allows you to set kind of the minimum standard for passwords for your other users. So if they try to set a password that's too easy or too short, they'll get a notification that that password is not strong enough. So that's where you could set that up. There's a few other basic settings in security. The default are pretty solid settings, but settings around account recovery for your users, any login challenges, just to make sure you're not getting anybody phishing or otherwise getting into your system, and some pretty heavy settings if you want to scroll through, including adding API permissions. So security is a good place to take a quick look at. Reports can be great just to see your storage levels and general usage across your specific organization or other groups that you've set up. It's pretty great. I'm not sure too many people are nerdy enough to get into this, but there's a lot of information that can be had there. And that's just the highlight report. So your billing, obviously you want to make sure that you have got a current credit card and or a backup credit card. But this is all pretty straight ahead. You can check into other products that you can also add here or upgrading or changing your plan. Company profile is also pretty straight ahead, but you'll want to have some basics filled out here, at least a basic profile and some of your communication preferences, and that's communications from Google. This may be the place. There's somewhere where you set up, it's probably under profile. Yeah, so this is an interesting feature here, this new products. There's a setting here for how to release new products. So when Google does make changes or adds new apps or new tools, I have this set to automatically roll out to all new users or all of our users. You can do it where it's manual and you'll have to approve each of those. I like automatic. This is also a really important feature when new features come out. See if you want to get the rapid release, which sometimes is even a beta version. It comes up a bit more quickly versus the scheduled release. So we have a pretty small team and we're pretty tech savvy. So I like to keep ours on rapid release. So when new features roll out, we get them pretty quickly. If you have a large organization where you may need to do some training or otherwise just not be surprised by new features, you may want to use the scheduled release feature here under company profile and then the main profile tab here, and those settings are towards the bottom of that block. So admin roles, we covered a little bit in the user section, but this is where you can set up any specific admin roles and or add users to any of those specific items. So you can see here, there's that role that I had created previously. So it shows who has that, and then also the specific privileges that you can set for what features they have access to as an admin. So it's pretty straight ahead, and you can certainly create a new role. And using role groups to manage this is certainly smart if you want to have some admin level tools where they can't necessarily mess with domains or anything like that, but they can turn off or on features or install apps. This is where you would do that. And then speaking of domains here is where you can add your own domains. Pretty simple process. Generally, when you hit add a domain, it's going to connect to whatever registrar you have that domain held in. And it will, there's a little bit of a process going through that. Chances are if you're a G Suite user, you've already done this. But it walks you through it, and then you will need to For email, you need to set up some MX records if you want to be able to use the domain within Google to point to a microsite or some other feature. You may need to get into some of the CNAME or ANAME records, but for the most part, you can just add a domain here, and that's automatically going to add it to your list of aliases. Obviously, it'll be here in your list of domains. And then you can even group these or connect these to specific organizations if you really want to get in that deep. But pretty straight ahead, relatively easy, but definitely good to have these domains managed here, especially if you want to be able to use them for email. One other feature is data migration. If you do have a user coming in from a Gmail account or Outlook 365, you can migrate that data, most specifically the email. It's a fairly simple process, and there's a bit of a wizard that walks you through it. I'm not going to go through this in detail because there are a lot of different settings and email types and dates with which you want to migrate. I will say that Google Help is great at helping you with this migration. Also, be mindful that I've had migrations take up to a month. It's pretty amazing how long it can take to pull in all that data. And typically that's just emails. If I have to do migration with someone's calendar or contacts, with the contacts, I typically just export them from their old system and import them into their contacts under their Google user. For calendar, typically I'll share. You can download or export a calendar and upload it. Personally, what I've ended up doing is often just going to their new G Suite calendar and having them share their old calendar. So those events will display in the G Suite calendar as basically a separate layer of a calendar, but they will then, everything moving forward as they add new events will just be in their G Suite calendar. So another bit of a best practice there that I've personally dealt with when using that. So it's all still pretty straight ahead. You can get some help or contact support here. It'll generate a pin for you if you do call in to get help. And again, they're pretty great about helping out. You can also find some of your other Google tools here if you just want to access those. And you can move these around, by the way, if you want to set your own preferred order. And then even just clicking on your own headshot here is going to bring up some options, manage your Google account, or even switch over to any of your other accounts. There's a lot of great tools over here on the right. And again, there are lots of really great features available on their help desk or as you go deeper. Just wanted to cover the basics here. I hope this helps you set up and manage your G Suite account better.